The next major Sonic game is something that more and more folks are talking about, as the only indication we have on what Sonic Team is doing is sleeping at the Game Awards. Izuka, I really hope you got your beauty sleep. I'm sure you're crunched for time all the time. You're still probably trying to catch up from Sonic Heroes' dev cycle, but hey, you made a game that I like at least. So naturally, it's a topic that comes up on the stream pretty often, and during this PO6 Sonic Any Percent run, we had a pretty good discussion about it, talking about, different aspects, what's it gonna be, what are we gonna see in it, what from previous outings would we like to see come back in the future, and also just kind of a critique on Sonic in general, as most of the time these conversations tend to evolve into. Before we get started, I just want to clarify, because I know a lot of people's tier lists are different. I want to clarify that for my tier list, an S tier game like Resident Evil 4 is a game that I absolutely love and will continue to play forever, and something I really never get tired of. A is pretty much just a lower S, except I'm okay with taking more and more breaks between playing the game over and over again because it didn't absolutely captivate me like an S tier game would. For that, I think something like Terraria would probably fit in pretty well there. A B tier game is, again, lower than A tier, but I'm okay with like more and more time between different playthroughs, but I still think it's a pretty good game. That would be something like Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Mention. C tier would be, I think it's a fine game. I'm cool with playing through it once. And yeah. D tier, of course, I don't think it's a good game, but maybe I can find some fun with it in some way. And then F tier game is just bottom of the barrel garbage. So just gonna clarify that because that's important, I think. Last thing before we get started is I put YouTube chat on screen because on Twitch, you're not allowed to have chats from other sites be on screen with the Twitch chat box. It's against the TOS. I don't care if other streamers do it. I'm not doing it. But yeah, I do multi-stream on Twitch and YouTube now. So if you haven't wanted to watch the streams on Twitch because you don't like the site or whatever, totally fine. You can just come over and watch on YouTube. There's also an individual during this conversation called Telekinestic Man that I recommend giving a watch to. I've watched his Sonic Frontiers analysis video, and based on the conversation here, I think I have another video to watch. You can find his link below the like button along with all of my stuff as well. Let's jump into it. Now, Frontiers is a C tier game for me. Has pretty much stayed there the entire time, which sucks because I was really into the game for the first two islands, and then I just like really waned when I got to Chaos Island, and then I have legitimately attempted to replay Frontiers probably 2 or 3 times since its release, like from start to finish. I just can't do it. I get so bored. I'm with what Bix said in his Sonic Racing video, that like at least to the general public, Frontiers is considered like on the better side. So like we've had Frontiers, we've had Shadow Gens, we've got the Sonic movies, we got Crossworlds. Like the next major official Sonic Team Sonic game has got to be a knockout, or else we're just doing the Sonic cycle again of having like 2 to 3 good releases, maybe a decent spin-off in there somewhere, and then we're back to the pits. So that's why I really hope that the next major official Sonic game is an iteration on Frontiers and not something different. So it's like, boom, we got the foundation. We've had 2 games to test out what works and what doesn't. Let's make a fucking banger. And then if they want to move on from Boost or some other shit, they can do that afterward. But just give us one more, you know? The only credit that I give the boss fights in Frontiers is that you're doing the same thing in the boss fights that you're doing in the regular game, which is nice. I don't like that kind of music, so it definitely brings it down for me. And I already didn't like the combat, so because I'm doing the same combat that I already don't like, I don't really like them. I don't think we're going to be seeing any major departure from the current visual style of the games. Open world Sonic is just such a cool idea. The world just has to be a world, you know? Not a bunch of hills with random shit floating above it. And I still say the coolest part of Frontiers is Ares Island when you go underneath the ground into that little cave area. Like, that's the type of shit I'd want to see from an open world Sonic. I've talked about this somewhat recently, but Boost is Sonic's best gameplay, at least for the official games, because it fulfills the speed fantasy instantly. So if a filthy fucking casual walks in and buys a Sonic game and they're like, I've heard this guy is fast. You know, they buy Frontiers, they buy Sonic X Shadow Gens. It's like, bam, no skill required. Instantaneously, you're fast. Where Boost falls off is that it has that lower skill floor and that lower skill ceiling than like the adventure games do. just having less control and the levels having to be designed more linearly to account for the speed. Obviously, outside of a speedrunning context, because speedruns, especially for the early boost games, can just be insane. Even though it's not my personal favorite style of Sonic, I still think it's good. The games can absolutely be fun and have good amount of replay value, and I think it's the best for everybody, despite it being against my own personal taste. Unleashed is absolutely one of the most technical Sonic full game runs. That's why I mean, like, outside of speedrunning, because that accounts for a very, very small group of people. In fact, Silver in PO6, I think, has that same low skill ceiling because there's no variance in the movement. Kind of like what Boost does a lot of the time. When you do a boost jump, you are boosting the exact same distance. However, if you fuck up your spin dash jump, you might not go as far. You might not go as high. There is just a lot more, not RNG, but like quote-unquote randomness, because unless you did everything absolutely perfectly, you weren't going to get the same result every time, so it made the neurons fire just a little bit more. Retail Silver is fucking hilarious. If you're interested in that on Thursday, I'm going to be racing Nick in Retail 06 versus PO6 Silver to cap that series off. At the time of this video uploading, that's going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. CST. If you don't know when that is in your time zone, I got an automatic time zone converter in the description. Check it out. Hey, I'm glad you enjoy what I do, man. To hear that people get value out of what I do, whether it's what I say or what I play or just being background noise, it means a ton. Seriously. That's what's interesting is that, and I don't know of this for sure, but I trust Gordon on it because Gordon is just like so deep in the paint. Gordon Ramsay, who's like 06 modder, 06 speedrunner, speedran, Lost World, knows a lot about Sonic games. So you can take it for a grain of salt, just like the rest of the internet, but he did tell me that apparently the philosophy behind Unleash's 3D and 2D design is that it was kind of meant to be seamless. Obviously, you notice when the dimensions shift, but kind of like it makes sense. It flowed in between 3D and 2D. And now, you know, we're just getting it. You are either playing 3D or 2D, which really sucks. Oh yeah, Unleashed and Gens absolutely have like a similar flow. It's just less of it because you're either not boosting or you're boosting. However, Sonic didn't have, all right, this is his running speed and now this is his boosting speed. Like, it was an acceleration up to boosting speed. If you ran out of boost, Sonic would slow down from his boosting speed back to his top running speed. Now it's like if you run out of boost, it's just wham! Straight down, there's no deceleration. Can you define vestigial for me? That word is too big for my small brain. That's absolutely a big contributor too. Which is something I've talked about before, that especially with like the Hedgehog Engine 2 games and Lost World, because I think it's like Hedgehog Engine 1.5 or whatever, the on and off feeling of states. It's like, all right, now I'm jumping. Now I'm boosting. Now I'm doing this, instead of it all flowing together. Especially nowadays, because jumping has like two speeds. You have your regular jump and you have your boost jump. There's no variance, depending on how fast you're going. Oh, gotcha. What kind of elements do you mean? Post-Gen's air boost? I would agree that Generations is like the last good air boost. I guess Force's air boost is just obscenely broken. I really do think that Pariah put it best in his Unleashed video, is just like, it's so strange when Sonic Team has a super solid base that's like really good, and then they throw in a bunch of other random shit. Who knows if it's a shareholder thing? Who knows if it's like a, you know, some suit comes in and is like, we need Tails to be playable. All right, let's make him a clone of Eggman. Like, you know, I don't know who makes the decisions behind the scenes. But that's why 06 in a way has such a strong foundation, is because every character kind of somewhat in some way controls like a Sonic character. And your whole goal with every character is to get from point A to point B. Because you can say the same thing as like, Sonic Adventure, you know, Sonic stages are great, rest of the game varies. Adventure 2, speed stages are great, rest of the game varies. Even Heroes, because of the damn difficulty shit. But you have to do 4 playthroughs with the last story. It's like, Team Sonic and Team Tark are great, and then the rest of the game varies. Shadow the Hedgehog is kind of funny because you play as one character, except you have wildly different missions. And it's like, oh, well, neutral path can be pretty fun. That's why I find expert mode so fun, because it turns Shadow the Hedgehog into a point A to point B game. And then you have Unleashed, which is like, all right, we have this really strong foundation with Speed Sonic, or the Hedgehog. I was like, all right, he switches to the Werehog, and now 75% of your run's gonna be fucking shit that you didn't buy the Sonic game for. Yeah, Sonic 3 nails it. As it should, it's the GOAT. I would imagine with the amount of resources it took to make a day stage in Unleashed that the Werehog kind of had to be there, or else the game would only be like an hour long. But I don't give a shit about that. Unfortunately, even still, you know, dollars equals amount of game time is just shocking. Whole video about it? That's awesome. I'll have to give it a watch when I have some time. And that's the thing, is you can like playing those other styles because there are the people that fucking love the treasure hunting and people who love the werehog and whatever. But I would say, and I can say with a fair amount of confidence, that in all of those Sonic games, nobody dislikes playing as Sonic if they like the game. You know? So it's like, why are we doing all of this random bullshit when you could have a much stronger, more tightly focused game with Sonic, the guy whose name is on the fucking box? I wanted to clarify this point here that I'm all for random bullshit side modes in video games like Chow Garden, Gummy Ship missions in Kingdom Hearts, or Poke-a-Me in like Pokemon X and Y, and like the affection system I think is in future Pokemon games too. What I'm trying to say is, why are we spending so much dev time on something that's kind of a risk when, as far as I understand, dev cycles now, especially for like professional studios, is crunch, 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 game. Crunch, 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 game. Appease shareholders, get input from people who have no idea how to develop a game or what people want. It just surprises me when games like Sonic Unleashed, for example, they nail it with the day stages, and then it's just like, bam, 75% Werehog. We don't know if it's going to be good or not, or if people are going to like it, but we got to make 75% not a Sonic game because we needed to meet some time quota or something like that, because dollars equals game time, apparently, for some people. Specifically for Sonic games, you can have the side characters, just have them be Sonic at their core, just like the classic games do, where the characters can jump into enemies, they can spin dash, they go relatively fast. They don't have to be as fast as Sonic, but still be pretty speedy. Honestly, Frontiers, Final Horizon, actually kind of does a good job with that, despite the skill tree not really the best with that. Like, what, Knuckles has to learn how to punch 20 to 30 years into his career? But yeah, just wanted to clarify that. Rad Knuckles Metroidvania on Angel Island, that actually does sound pretty sick. Oh, beatable in 2 hours? Yeah. Probably a little bit more because, like, the day stages get pretty hard. They did have, like, Act 2s and Act 3s in the base game. There wasn't DLC for them or anything, so, like, why weren't some of those? Because while some of them are like challenge acts, others were pretty fleshed out, so I guess I'm more surprised than anything. This is also a really good run, by the way. Hard to believe the first run of today was like almost 24 minutes, and now I'm sitting here 2 runs later on the cusp of sub 23. Amazing how a giant rant about fucking Sonic the Hedgehog will do that. Oh, wait! Wait, that might be PB, I don't know. Apparently I have a 2255, so no, it's not a PB, but this was awesome. It was good conversation. If I end up making it one of those kinds of videos, I hope you enjoy. I know people have been asking for me to make more of those, but here we are. As far as I know, only 3 people in the world can get a sub 23 full game Sonic Any Percent run in PO6, so sub 23, kind of a big deal. Felt pretty good getting that, even though I still got a long way to go if I want to get like a record or something. Before I let you go, I just want to clarify one more time, because I always get yelled at for it in one way or another, is that if you like the other gameplay styles, in especially like the adventure games or the Werehog and Sonic Unleashed, fucking great. Honestly, I'm kind of jealous because I would like to like the entirety of games. I don't like hating video games. I like enjoying them and playing them. I just don't really like it when Sonic games sort of veer off the main path of what I find fun and what got me hooked into the series with the classic games. That's just the tough part about this series, is ever since Sonic Adventure, it's like you see the good game in those games. It's just, there's just a bunch of other crap that sinks it down, that makes it unfocused and makes it just not as fun to play. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed, and here's another rant video for you. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on these. But of course, if you got any good constructive criticism, remember, you don't have to be rude. You know, I'm much more receptive if you're more neutral when it comes to what you think about these kinds of videos. But just in general, I've kind of been getting a lot of positive feedback on people really enjoying the content and stuff, and that really means a lot. I'm gonna go into more of it in a video soon, but just thank you so much for spending your time here on this corner of the internet with me. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.